This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstye Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 7, Episode 26. Brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington on social media. Now I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington life and sports as part of the mighty Hogstye Network on audio. You can buy my book there on Real Times and over here on YouTube on that. So please share, subscribe, comment, even hit the like button and thanks button. Thanks button. Any thanks button monies will go to Matt. So
Sweet.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna give any, but whatever.
Christmas came early, baby.
Yeah, there you go. You can get a soda this Christmas.
Nice. Can I large my meal at McDonald's?
No.
We're not.
So the Washington Commanders beat Philadelphia. In last week's podcast, I picked them to lose big. But as it got closer, I thought, I got a puncher's chance because what do I always say? The weirdest stuff happens in the Eagles games. And here we go. It wasn't a weird thing so much. They just beat them. And Philly, Philly could have won that game at the end. They had 2 turnovers, so that's their problem. But, this was the first time, I don't know if in a while, that I've said, wow, Commander staff outcoached the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say that very often, but Scott Turner had a really good game plan. They knew the Eagles couldn't stop the run. And they got, Heineke came up big when he had to. Made one mistake, but it didn't kill him. And, overall, it was a solid win.
Yeah, I mean, we dog him on this show relatively frequently. So I will say Scott Turner had the best game plan of all season against the Eagles. This was the best coached, offensively schemed game that he has coached this season. Just the ability, I mean, the numbers are staggering, Rick, when you look at him. If you didn't watch that game, the numbers were honestly staggering. Like, what was it, 40 minutes and a couple seconds of possession to 19? That's ridiculous. And you think about it, too. They put themselves in a hole. This was a team that came out. They went 3 and out. They punted. They got a roughing the kicker call. And then literally on the next play, Heineke got a strip sack fumble. It's like, and it was a relatively short field. They marched down and boom, there you go. They scored 7-0, but the thing was that the thing that I noticed last night, and I know you want to talk coaches, but you have to look at the players, the resiliency of these guys to not get down on themselves, as we've seen in the past when they're down by 7. Normally they're all dragging their heads and thinking, oh, well, here we go again. But there's just this aura around Heineke that these guys gravitate to. I know Terry McLaurin loves that Heineke's in the game because he had 8 catches on 11 targets for 120 some yards. I mean, Terry loves having Heineke behind center. It's just, I don't know. That game just felt different. It didn't look like the Washington Commanders we've watched for the previous 9 games.
Well, we're at mid-season, and that's when Ron Rivera usually hits a switch.
Yeah.
And so here they are at 5-5 after 10 games. Wish they figured it out in the first month and not the third, but okay. And now they're going to have to play Houston and then Atlanta and then the Giants twice. A weird thing with the bye. And so they have a chance to really make a move. When you think about it, they've gone 4-1 in the last 5. And I thought, I didn't think about it that way. And yeah, that's pretty impressive. So what is this team's fate? I don't know exactly, but I think it looks more positive than negative this season because, they can win. They win 3 of those 4. I know I hate talking like that way, but, they've got a real chance of making the playoffs, but they have some real questions to ask themselves too about quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting part of Heineke is he's good enough to win this game. I'm not sure he's good enough to be a franchise quarterback. And I hate saying that, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
because he hasn't played Superman. They didn't win that game because of him,
Right.
but his own charisma. I wrote a column for 106.7 The Fan I write for, and I compared it a lot to how Billy Kilmer came in. This happened 50 years ago, but Sonny Jurgensen had been a great player for this team for about 8 years. He was going to the Hall of Fame, but he had a losing record, mostly because they had a defense that stunk. But here comes in Billy Kilmer, who was really something like 11-29 in his career in two places, had been badly hurt in a car accident, wasn't the pocket perfect guy. He threw a wobbly ball. It was everything that you didn't want. And yet George Allen said, I want this guy over Sonny. And he went something like 51-22 or something. He had winning markets every year. I mean, the sum of Kilmer's parts somehow exceeded his abilities. And Heineke is the same way.
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to sit here and say that Taylor Heineke is the next Kurt Warner. Kurt bounced around, was out of the league, came back, ended up winning a Super Bowl. But the guy, I'll point to one play last night, and I want you to replace Taylor Heineke with Carson Wentz. The ball gets hiked 15 yards behind him. Heineke ran there, and everybody's seeing, just sit on it, just sit on the ball, That's what you do. That he picked it up. He had the wherewithal, and you can see it in his eyes to realize I'm not out of the pocket. He rolls to the left while maintaining, maybe I can throw it to somebody downfield, and then says, well, there's nobody open. And he has enough arm strength to get it back to the line of scrimmage. He saved them 20 yards on that play, Rick. Put Wentz in that situation. Wentz is taking the sack. It's going to be 2nd and 35.
Yeah, there were 3 instances sort of like that where he threw the ball away that would have been a sack, and he would have been sacked last season. But he got smarter, and he's learned how to throw the ball away. And he had a couple of throws that I thought were frozen ropes for completions that I thought we wouldn't have made that pass last year. So I see growth in the guy. There's no doubt of that. And, he's smart enough, and he's got just that Rocky-esque, demeanor that people gravitate to.
We've said it all along. The guy has the shortest memory in the NFL. He goes out and throws an interception, and as soon as they get the ball back, he's chucking the ball down the field like it never happened. The guy, he is, and I said that to my wife last night. He is Rocky on the football field. When he's down, he somehow gets back up. Now, I don't ever expect him to be a champion like Rocky, but he's always going to give you a puncher's chance when he is behind center. Look at the first 4 weeks of Wentz versus the last 4 weeks of Heineke. Realistically, they could have went 5 for 5. Kirk Cousins decided to wake up in the fourth quarter, and our defense went to sleep, and they gave up a 10-point lead. And it was mostly the turning point of that game was mostly Heineke's turnover. I get it. But at the end of the day, you just see it, Rick. We didn't see Terry McLaurin and Gibson and Allen and the leaders of this team rally behind Wentz the way that they do with Heineke. And I tell you, the guy has something that you can't teach, and it's heart. The kid is never going to just get down on himself. He thinks he is the greatest quarterback in the world, and he's going to go out there and perform like it in his own head, not necessarily to our eyes, but he's just going to go out there and do his thing.
The amazing part is he's 10-9 as a starter.
Yeah.
On this team has not been that good, and I still think he's better as a spot starter and reliever, so how long does this go? I don't know. Today, Rivera was asked, so what are you doing at quarterback? He said, you say something Tuesday. So he goes, I haven't talked to the trainers yet, so I don't know the medical report. He purposely sees them after the media so he doesn't have to lie to us. Mm-hmm. But, I think Carson's going to need a little extra time to heal, after Taylor did that on Monday.
Especially because your next 2 games are winnable. The Texans and the Falcons.
Yeah, so would it surprise me if Wentz at some point comes back? Nah, I mean, I think it could happen. But I think right now you ride Heineke as long as you can. I
don't want to see Wentz back in there because then you got to give up a 2nd-round draft pick for him.
Depends on how long he plays in those games.
Yeah, true.
But I don't know. All right, let's shift gear. Brian Robinson, I thought, had his best game yet. And, part of it is he's still trying to get everything back after being shot and sitting on the couch for a few weeks.
Mhm.
And so some of that. But, he said today even, I'm not a breakaway back. I'm a guy who's going to bust the line for 3 to 5 over and over and over. And he did. He did a decent job with a line that's not that good. And I thought he was a big reason why they managed it, because they knew that they could run on the Eagles. But, Gibson wouldn't have made a lot of those moves. Gibson's better in space.
Mhm.
He's doing well there. But Robinson's given them that hammer that they need. And it really worked well yesterday.
I said it in the preseason, and it's rounding into form now. They need to be like the Giants back in the day when they had Tiki Barber and Ron Dane. This needs to be thunder and lightning. Brian Robinson is your hammer that's going to get you 3 to 5 yards and go for, get you either set up for second or third down or get you that first down when you need it. Gibson is going to be the lightning that can bounce outside and get 15 yards. And he's also going to be the guy catching the ball out of the backfield. It's kind of intriguing to me now thinking about it, why JD McKissic came back to this team, because essentially, and with him being hurt last night, essentially Gibson is taking his role. McKissic was known for the big catches out of the backfield. And it seemed, Gibson's a natural fit being a former wide receiver in college, but it's just interesting to me that, JD had a chance to go to Buffalo. They matched it. He came back. So, but yeah, this is exactly what they need to be. And look, I know people were kind of dogging the kid when he came back, but the fact of the matter is, Rick, he didn't have a sore foot. He didn't have a twisted ankle. He didn't have a high ankle sprain. The man was shot. He had a bullet go into his leg. We have to give a little bit of time for him. And like he said, he was sitting on the couch for 5 weeks or 3 weeks. He couldn't move. He had to keep his leg elevated. And, also let's not remember, this is the kid's, it was supposed to be his 10th game. What is it, like his 5th, 6th game? He's fresh out of college. Sure, he played at Alabama, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you play at Alabama, Clemson, or wherever. There's still a transition period.
Yeah. All right. Tight end. Been disappointed in the production largely because of the injuries. And yesterday, Logan Thomas had 2 catches, but he threw a great block on a score. And I thought, okay, as long as you guys can block, they've got enough receivers. Dotson was back. He suddenly was like, I'm over here. And they threw him one. It was amazing how much the receivers were open. But the tight ends, if their role shifts to more of a blocking complementary, I'm okay with that, because that means you have enough targets elsewhere.
Yeah, you're talking about the block for the touchdown, I think it was, with Logan and Samuel, both sealed the edge with great blocks. It was a great play design. But that's what they have to do. And it's, going back to giving Scott Turner credit, is I think he finally realized that they have to max protect against some of these defenses, especially a defensive line like Philly, And look, Logan was a nice story coming, his first year, former quarterback turned tight end, found success. They re-signed him. He got hurt. He came back. He got hurt. Hey, like you said, there's enough weapons on this team that Logan Thomas is your 4th option. That's pretty good. Actually, probably your 5th, because you probably go Terry, Samuel, Dotson, Gibson, and then Logan. Yeah. But hey, it's a kind of a spoil of riches with our offensive talent, except for our offensive line, of course.
All right, before we go, Joey Sly kicks 4 field goals, right? And a 55 and a 58. Woo! It was a clutch kicks. I've always liked Joey Sly. So, it's nice to see that maybe he's got himself a little more permanence here, showing a game like that.
Yeah, especially for a guy that a lot of people wanted cut after the first or second game when he missed a couple kicks. To go out there in that wind last night, that cold, I know that ball was probably as hard as a brick, but he's got the leg, man. And it was just I think it was more of a matter of accuracy with Joey compared to leg. We knew he had the leg strength, but yeah, it was great to see.
Yeah. All right, we're out of here. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent on the Hogsty Network.